democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Not backing down. Israel, free speech, and the battle for Palestinian human rights. That's the title of the panel set to take place Saturday at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. 3 anonymous UMass students filed a lawsuit to stop the event, claiming they'll, quote, suffer irreparable harm if it takes place. But Judge Robert Ullman ruled on Thursday the event can proceed, saying, quote, there's nothing that comes even close to a threat of harm or incitement to violence or lawlessness. Meanwhile, the university's backed the event despite the protests, saying it's committed to the principles of free speech and academic freedom. So we're joined right now by Pink Floyd founder Roger Waters, who is one of the participants in that event. Welcome to Democracy Now! And talk about why you're doing this on Saturday and the significance of the court ruling.
Well, Sir asked me to come to his university to be on this panel, and I'm delighted to be able to do it. Thank you, Judge. He was very explicit and brief and to the point, and his ruling is obviously sound. My view is that it's a good thing that the organisations are attacking the event, because what it does is it serves to shine light on the predicament of the Palestinian people who we support. And the more light that is shone in any question of human rights, the better, in my view. So I'm very glad that they've failed. Though, in a way, if they had succeeded in their legal manoeuvres, that might have gone even further to shine light on the predicament of the Palestinians, which is what this is about. You know, something that I say at every show I do now, because I find my speeches down so they're very short, is at some point in everybody's life they have to decide whether or not they believe in the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights in Paris. If you do, either you believe in it or you don't. You can't have it both ways. And so if you do believe it, then you have to stand up for people's human rights all over the world, irrespective of their ethnicity or their religion or their nationality, which is what we are doing in this panel at the University of Massachusetts on Saturday.
Can you talk about the backlash against pro-Palestinian voices, including the backlash that you, Roger Waters, have experienced as a musician, as a human rights activist, as you travel the world?
Well, this particular issue is far more divisive than any other. So I've just been on tour for a couple of years all over the world, and in many countries, certainly in Europe, in France and in Germany, I came up against an absolute wall of silence, really, particularly in Germany, where nobody in the press, until I spoke to one journalist with a newspaper from Munich, nobody would speak to me, on the grounds that they'd been told that I was anti-Semitic and that I could not be spoken to. And the Germans are very sensitive about Jewish affairs. And in consequence, they are not open to even speaking about human rights within the context of Palestine.
Can you talk about the equation of being critical of the Israeli government with anti-Semitism?
Well, I could talk about it, yeah, but what's the point? So much...
Respond to it.
Okay, well, it's quite clearly criticism of any government is nothing to do with anti-Semitism, and certainly criticism of the Israeli government's flouting of international law and abuses of human rights has nothing to do with the Jewish faith or Jewish people. I've had lots of meetings all over the world with JVP-sponsored events.
Jewish Voice for Peace.
Actually, we did one in... the first one we did after I left the States was in Vancouver, and it wasn't JVP, but it was another Jewish organization, I can't remember, something other voices. And of course, they are just as humane and care just as much about human rights as everybody else does who cares about human rights. Unfortunately, the Israeli government does not care about human rights, and neither does this government in this country, which is why this administration is supporting the annexing of the Golan Heights and the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. So it is very important that those of us who do care organise, meet, have meetings and continue to protest the situation of our Palestinian friends.